good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're well today, hope you're feeling grand, and all's well in your world. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the NQ Wednesday, everybody. Let's dive into question 1. Okay, so question 1 today is, why would you pick a 4x12 cabinet over a 2x12 cab? Okay, well, I don't know, this is a totally personal, thing. You know, I can't think of the exact word I'm trying to use there. But this is a totally personal thing, really. Kind of like, you know, depending between players. Because I know a lot of players really like 2-12 cabs. I know a lot of players like 1x12 combos or 1x10 combos, even 1x8 combos. And I know people who love, like, you know, 4x12s. I know people who love, like, you know, 2 4x12s or 2 2x12s. You know, it's a totally personal and kind of like what you want to hear kind of thing, really. So, but for me, personally, I would always pick a 4x12 cab over a 212. I mean, 212s are okay, 112s are okay. But I love just the pure spread of sound that a 412 gives. I mean, yeah, they are directional to an extent, 412 cabs are breaking, but what amp isn't? You know, apart from barefaced cabs, which are just creepy and weird. In a good way, though, I will say. But I prefer 412s because I like the spread of sound. And I like having 4 speakers, and I like having, like, the fact that each speaker sounds different to each other. You know, the top right doesn't sound the same as the bottom left. You know, and I like the kind of mixture. When you have like a 1x12, you have that one sound, which is already very cool. But when you have a 412, you've got 4 different sounds, and the more you kind of up that, I remember when I used to gig with 2 double stacks, it was a proper cacophony of different noises, but in a really glorious way. Excuse me. And I like that. And I just like the low end of 412 gives. I like the mids that a 412 gives. I like the highs that a 412 gives. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. That's really annoying. I just prefer them. There's just something in a 412 that I think it's because it could be because I've always used 412s, but saying that, I do like using combos as well, especially like the katanas. When the katanas came along, I wasn't as fussed about not being able to gig a 412 as I was previously. When I was gigging previously with combos were either single speaker or 2 speaker, and I couldn't use a 412 because I'd done my back in, they didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. The katanas changed that massively. You know, as soon as I got the katanas, like, you know, I didn't have as much desire to have a 412 behind me as I did previously. The katanas just seem to fill that void. I don't know how they do it, considering their size, it's ridiculous. But either way, I love it. But personally, if I was given the choice and my back wasn't totally ruined from carrying them for 18 years, well, 16, I had a year off, and definitely had a year off last year, and probably this year. Anyway, moving along. I would pick a 412 any day of the week over a 212 or a 112. I just like the big sound that they give. I like the 4 different you know, they're all the same speaker. You know, for instance, in my JCM 900 cab, they're all Celestion G1275Ts, but they all sound different. They've all got a different character about them. And I like the way they interact with each other. I like that. It's really, really cool. When you get a cab where all the speakers interact with each other in a really, really cool way, that's ace. I have played through cabs where the speakers don't interact with each other very well, and it sounds naff. I've had that in the past, and that's never been very good. But, like I say, my JSM 900 cab, my magical cab, my favourite cab that I own, it's just ridiculously good. I love how that thing sounds, and I love just the big wall of sound it creates. And I don't feel I get that as much with a 212 or a 112 or anything else, really. I'll say apart from the katanas, which is a bit creepy. But I don't know why the katanas filled that void so well. I'm gonna have to look into that, people who chat. I might do a video on that. Why does the katana feel like a 412? Interesting. Okay, so but personally, I love 412s. I love the way they look as well. I mean, a 412 cabinet, I just think looks cool, especially when you got a head on top. It just looks cooler, I think, than a combo. I mean, I've always loved half stack. I mean, I remember when I first started playing guitar, I had such a longing for a half stack. You know what I mean? I had such a massive desire to own a half stack. Like I had my PV Rage and I had my Carlsbro 1x12 combo. And I was like, I really want a Marshall half stack. I'd seen so many people around here gigging with half stacks as well, and I was like, I really want a half stack. And then in 2004, for my birthday, my dad got me my first half stack, a Marshall MG half stack, and I was just like, happy days. And then I got the Marshall MG double stack, which made me more happier. I never really went back from there. Really, from 2004, May 2004, I used cabs, 412 cabs, consistently until 2017. Yeah, 2017. I think it would have been. Yes, it would have been. Yeah, 2017. I used cabs pretty much all the way until then, unless certain venues wouldn't allow it. You know, there were certain venues where I had to use combos just because it was too big and you couldn't get it in there. But I've always just loved I love the look, I love the sound, I love the spread of sound, I love the sound itself, I love the bottom end, the mids and the highs. I just love everything about a 412 cab. They just make me feel very happy, and I like having them behind me. I like to feel it as well. That's another thing. A 412 cab, when you've got it loud at a gig and you stand in front of that thing, you can feel that sound. You can feel it internally, and it just gets you, and I love that. And I don't ever find I get that with combos, apart from katanas. Again, weird, I don't get it. But I don't want to get it, I love it, that's all that matters. But a lot of combos I've used over the years, like I say, I mean my Marshall Master Reverb, the other Fender stage I had, the Carlsbro, other combos I've used over the years. When I'm playing through them, I always feel like I'm lacking. I can't feel it as well as I can with a 412. And then, when I get a 412, I'm like, there it is. Until the katanas came along. Again, stop. Oh, I'm mental on the katanas, aren't I? I need to go to Katana A&A. Katana Anonymous. K-A. Ka. No infringement on the car. Anyway. But I personally love 412s over the 212s. I just like the spread more. I like everything about them. And again, they're just so cool to look at. Especially when you have a stack or two. I don't know. They just look cool. They really do. And I think there's more to the sound of having multiple speakers going. Like, having one speaker going is really, really cool. But having multiple speakers going, I always like that. I mean, invariably, when you're playing live with a 412, you'll only hear one speaker. You just mic up one speaker and that'll be the sound you get. But in a perfect world, I would always prefer to go out miking a 412 with two microphones. One on one speaker, one on another, just like picking and choosing, just to get different sounds. But you don't normally get that. You don't normally get that option at the level I kind of play at. You're lucky if you get to mic up at some places anyway. But or you used to be able to be. Those days gone? Who knows, people of the tube, who knows? Definitely feels like it to me. It's very, very depressing. Anyway, but that's why I would pick a 412. Like I say, it's a totally personal taste thing. It really is, because I know a lot of people who really love 212s. I know people who love like 112 combos. I know people who prefer more than just kind of like, and you read interviews with people like Eric Johnson and people like that who mix and match speakers in their cabinet, so they have like two speakers here which are totally different and then two speakers here are totally different to get different sounds. So it's just personal preference at the end of the day. I mean, like I said, I prefer 412 over anything, but again, back permitting, I can't carry them around as much as I used to be able to, because when I did my back in, my God, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I just remember like not being able to move properly and like it just like stiff, and I couldn't. It was hindering my ability to breathe properly, which is never good. And I had to go and get my back sorted out and all that kind of thing. That was the pleasant side of it, getting it sorted, definitely. But having just kind of like moving like Nosferatu every day was not pleasant. But yeah, given a choice, 412s for me, but I understand the functionality of single speakers and stuff like that, but it's just the pure unbridled angriness and feel you can get from a 412 is just like, especially when it's loud. Heaven, I tell you, people of the Tube, heaven. But yeah, I love them. I love 412s. Purple of the Tube. I don't know what purple. What happened to my voice? What happened? Purple. I lost the ability to speak properly then. Anyway, people of the Tube, I put this question to you. So, what cabinet do you prefer and why? Is it a 412, 212, 112, or is it an 8x12? Or is it even more than that? Is it a 24 by 12? You know, let us know in the comment section below which one you prefer and why. You know, what is it about a single speaker, 2 speakers, 4 speakers, 3 speakers? You know, what is it about that you like the most? You know, what is it does to you? Like I say, for me, it's look, feel, sound, tone, difference in tone, spread of sound, everything. It's just everything about 412 is just like heaven to me. It's got the whole 9 yards, man. But it's great. Anyway, but yeah. Let us know in the comment section below, people of YouTube, which one you prefer and why. And let us know your experiences with live and, you know, in general with kind of like, you know, different speakers, kind of combinations, 2x12s, 1x12s. Because like I said, I mean, when I used to gig and it was backline supplied and you'd get like a 1x12 combo, or you get a 2x12 combo or something like that, you know, I always felt like there was something missing from my sound, and invariably it was the extra speakers and the push and boom of that kind of having a loud 412 behind me. But yeah, people of YouTube, let us know. Okay, so I hope it's this question. Going to move on to question 2 now. Okay, so question 2 today is, what's your favourite Kurt Cobain song, and what band do you listen the most from? What band do you listen the most to from the grunge era? I've missed out the 2 because I'm an idiot. So what's my favourite Kurt Cobain song? My favourite Kurt Cobain song is Blue off the Bleach album. Not only is it in a really cool tuning in the fact that you have to it's in drop D, although if I remember correctly, I can't remember exactly. I think the original Blue is it's either half step or whole step. I forget offhand. So it's either half step down or whole step down tuned, and then you have to tune up your high E to an F. I believe. Or is it F sharp? No, it's an F, isn't it? No, it is F. Yeah, it's F. So it's a really, really cool kind of weird tuning. So you got like a drop D, so it's like D A D G B F, which I think is really, really cool. And it's got it's that, you know, it's really cool. And it kind of adds that weird dissonance to it, you know, having that kind of like, even though it's kind of like in key with D, having an F in the bottom on the high E, it just sounds weird. It's so cool. Or is it an F sharp? 1 second, people, Joe. I need to figure this one out quick. And I have to be careful that I don't get copyright flagged for this. So, yeah, it's F. Yeah, you have to tune up the high E to F. Okay, I better remember to tune that down again, otherwise I'll start playing it later and it'll be like... Okay, so my favourite song is Blue off Bleach. There's just something about that song that just really... I'd love to play it. I can't play it. I can't. I would love to, but, you know, copyright. But it's my favourite Kurt song. I mean, it's closely followed by stuff like, you know, You're Right, and... trying to think of any others. I mean, there's Very Ape. I love Very Ape. Server Servants. Negative Creep. You know, so many Kurt songs I love, but my favourite out of all of them is Blue. I just love that song. It's absolutely... I love the way he doubles his voice with the guitar in the verses. It's just so cool. I mean, that's a very bluesy thing to do. You know, it's a very, very bluesy thing to do. It's like, you know, to double your voice with the guitar. Like, so your guitar sings what you sing. So cool. And it's just the nastiness of the song. You know, and the nastiness of his voice and the way he sings it. And Kurt's delivery is unlike anybody else's. It's like Chris Cornell. Their delivery is just like so unique to them. And they just mean it so much. You know, Kurt was just so intense with his vocal. You know, and it's just immense. I just love that song to bits. So my favourite Kurt Cobain song is Blue by far. I just love that song. So which band do I listen the most to out of the grunge era? I mean, I don't know, because I listen to a lot. I mean, I grew up in that era. I remember listening to Nirvana back in the day and stuff like that. I never listened to Pearl Jam back in the day. That's a funny thing. It's like, during the 90s, I never really listened to Pearl Jam. It was more kind of Nirvana. And, well, saying that, it was more kind of like Nirvana and Oasis. That was kind of like the 90s. Nirvana, Oasis, The Prodigy. Who else did we used to listen to? We used to listen to quite a few different kind of bands. We weren't Blur fans in this house, I'm afraid, so I do apologise. If anybody who's a Blur fan, we were Oasis fans here. Although my dad didn't like them. Yeah. But that Nirvana and Oasis really defined the 90s to me, because I remember like listening to them. I remember my brother coming home with Incesticide. He'd bought it from HMV in Grimsby up the road, and we put it on. We were listening to that while playing Resident Evil 1 and stuff like that. And I remember listening to like Oasis live at Nebworth as it happened on the radio. So cool, so cool. My brother actually taped that on tape, and then he taped over it with dance music. He regrets it now, and so he should. Anyway, but yeah, which band do I listen to? I mean, I would say these days, I don't know. It's kind of like a share. It's a real shared thing. It's a shared thing between Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I would say it's those three. Those three are the top three for me, definitely. And then you kind of get Soundgarden after that, and then there's I listen to kind of like things like Mother Love Bone every now and again, Screaming Trees every now and again, but mainly, like I say, it's Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Alice in Chains. They're my kind of like main three grunge bands that I listen to, and I would say it's pretty shared between that. I don't think I listen to one over the other more. I don't listen to Nirvana more over to Alice in Chains. I don't listen to Alice in Chains over Pearl Jam more. It's kind of like a pretty shared thing between those three, to be fair with you. So yeah, but like I said, I mean, I just remember, when I'm listening to like Nevermind, Incesticide live and Unplugged in New York with Nirvana, and stuff like that. And I also remember like listening to some other stuff back in the day. Like I remember when Firestarter came out. I remember them playing the music video to Firestarter by The Prodigy on Top of the Pops. You won't get that anymore. You would not get that anymore. I remember. Actually got a video. We actually filmed it. I remember watching Oasis doing. Would it be Roll With It? Could be Roll With It. Didn't maybe Roll With It on Top of the Pops, and it was really funny because Noel and Liam changed places. So Noel was pretending to be Liam, and Liam was pretending to be Noel. And it was quite cool, and I got that on video somewhere, VHS. I remember watching that, and it was so cool. I remember laughing at the time as well. But yeah, I remember like we've got like loads of Oasis singles as well. My brother bought like loads of Oasis singles when they came out, because basically Oasis singles were basically like an EP. You didn't just get like the single and a B-side. You got 4 songs, So like for instance, what have we got here? So. 1 second. Sorry, I'm taking you down memory lane here, people of YouTube. I hope you don't mind. Where are they? Okay, there's Wall. Let's Roll With It. So, not only does Roll With It have one of the coolest covers ever, and I've always loved the fact. I've always loved this. I love the fact like they're all sat watching TV, and if you turn it around, so Noel's there. So what's Noel watching? Himself. I think that's absolutely wicked. I love the fact that Noel there is watching himself. So I like that. I think that's really, really cool. And what's his name? But yeah, it's so cool. But this is 1995. I love this. But like I say, with the Oasis singles, you never really got just one song. So on the Roll With It single, it's supposed to be like the main song and a B-side. You didn't get that. So with Roll With It, you got Roll With It, It's Better People, Rocking Chair, which is like one of my favourite Oasis songs, and then Live Forever Live at Glastonbury 95. I mean, that's so cool. And then we've got another couple of them over there, which I can't find right now in my CD collection thing. And there's like I can't think of what there is. I can't find it. But each one of those singles has like 4 tracks on it. It's so cool. I swear we had like some Nirvana. Oh, we had Nirvana Unplugged in New York on tape, cassette tape. That was it. Because yeah, we didn't get it on CD because we wanted to be able to listen to it in the car. I think it was like that, so we got it on tape. Anyway, but I know I digress massively there. That's tangent time, isn't it? That's going down memory lane. Offspring. That was another band that takes me back to the 90s. I remember listening to the Offspring. I always remember like turning up really loud in the house because it had swearing in it, especially Bad Habit. Especially the middle section of Bad Habit. Turn it up. Mum's not gonna like this bit. You know, when you're like, you know, I don't know how old I was. I don't know how old I was about then, like 8, 9, or 10 or something like that. It's like, hey, Mum's not gonna like this bit. It's got swearing in it. But anyway, but yeah. So so like I say, I mean, coming back to the actual question and digressing off memory lane here. What band do I listen to the most out from the grunge era? Like I say, it's a toss up between those 3. It really is, and I mean, I love grunge music. It's one of my favourite styles. You know, if you want to call it grunge, you know, it's alternative rock or whatever you want to call it. Because a lot of those bands didn't like the term grunge, and grunge these days doesn't mean the style of music. You know what I mean? Grunge is a look now. You know what I mean? It's not a style. You know, it's not like blues. You know what I mean? Blues is a style of music. Grunge isn't the style of music, I don't think, anymore. It's more a fashion statement, and it's just a bit kind of meh. And I don't like that as much. So I don't tend to not to use that word. I don't think the grunge bands of the time, Kurt, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, I don't think any of them liked that title. You know, I don't think you know, I know Kurt didn't. I know Pearl Jam didn't. Alice in Chains, they didn't really class themselves as that either. But you know, a lot of those bands were just like, we're just, you know, we're a rock band. It's what they thought of themselves. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, those 3 are my favourite, and I say I love that era of music. So I say it reminds me of growing up and where I was when I was growing up. So it's really, really cool. And like I say, it's grunge and Oasis and bands like the Prodigy that remind me of kind of growing up and stuff like that. And also bands like the Pogues and the Clash and the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. So, you know, and Irish traditional music and all sorts of other stuff. It's really cool. But yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna move on because I'll talk about that all day, and I'm getting easily distracted because I like talking about that kind of thing. Anyway, let's move on to question 3 now, people of the tube. So question 3 today is, what do you use to level and crown frets? Okay, so for the longest time, what I was using to level frets and crown frets was just off the shelf stuff. For leveling frets, what I used was a spirit level. So just a usual spirit level you can get from any kind of hardware shop, and it was about, I've still got it. It's about that big, and I basically just kind of like taped what was it, 400 grit? Was it 600? I forget. I think it was 400 or 600 grit sandpaper to it, and basically used that as my fret leveler, which worked. It worked. You know, I never had any problems with it, but it wasn't the easiest kind of thing to manipulate. It was very, very light, so it was very kind of hard to kind of get, you know, you had to put some pressure on it, but you had to be careful not to put too much pressure on it because it was, you know, it was just a bit, it wasn't a nightmare. It was very easy and it worked the job. And in all fairness, I would recommend it if you are looking into kind of getting that thing. Spirit level will work a treat, and also you can check how flat your neck is with a spirit level because you can see if it's level or not, and also get your eye clued in. But anyway, but that's what I initially used, was a spirit level with sandpaper double-sided tape to the bottom of it, and it worked a treat. You know, I fret leveled quite a lot of guitars with that thing, and it worked. You know, and I never had any troubles. To crown them, I mean, invariably, I don't really like pointy frets. I don't like frets when they're like, you know, super, super pointy on top. I like a bit of flatness to the fret. I don't really like it when they're like perfectly rounded over. I just don't like the way they feel. I like kind of fatter frets, if that makes any sense. I like it when there's no kind of like point on the fret. Yeah, I don't think any of my guitars have really pointy frets. They've all got fairly flattish tops. You know, they're all cut off on top, and I like that more. It feels nicer to me when I play the guitar. When I play a guitar with like a fret that's kind of like really pointed on top, it feels weird. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't mind like a slight kind of like dome to it, but I don't like it when it's kind of like that. You know, if it's kind of like a hill, it kind of gets on my nerves. But it just feels weird. But if it's got like a dome to it, I like that more. But I do prefer that. I say over pointy frets, but that's what I used initially. But to crown frets, what I used to do is just use these little files I've got, just to kind of like, you know, just to carve the sides in a little bit and just round them over. And that was it, basically. That was what I used. But recently, I've switched to another plug for Crimson Guitars. But I recently bought, well, last year I got the Crimson Guitars fret leveling beam, which is insane, and fret crowning file, which again is insane. And also got Crimson Guitars fretboard rubbers as well, which again I would highly recommend these three things if you want to learn to level, crown, and polish frets. These three things are a godsend. So the leveling beam I got is just immense. I have 400 grit sandpaper on it now. That's not really 400 grit anymore. It's really worn down and it's perfect. I kind of don't want to have to change it because it's like where it is now just takes off the perfect amount of material when you fret level it. But eventually one time it'll have to change. But I have 400 grit on one side, and then I have, is it 800 on the other side? I forget what is on the other side, or is it one 500? It's really fine. Anyway, I have 400 on one side and really, really fine on the other side, just to kind of like polish them up a bit before I go in with the fret rubbers. But the Crimson Guitars fret leveling beam, I find, is the perfect amount of weight to it. So when you are leveling, you don't have to kind of press down like I used to have to. I used to have to press down a little bit with my spirit level because it was so light, because it was just like aluminium. I had to press down a little bit for it to get kind of like to take any of the metal off the fret. Whereas the Crimson Guitars fret leveling beam, it's the perfect weight, I feel personally. So when you're going over the frets, it just takes off the perfect amount. You don't have to press down. You don't have to put any pressure on it. You just literally run it up and down, and eventually, you get the desired effect, which is perfect. And especially for somebody as cack-handed as me, if I can do it with that, then anyone can. I do apologise for my squeaky chair, everybody. Anyway, but yeah, so that's what I've used recently, and also the fret leveling the fret profiling file or whatever. I don't know what it's called. But basically what it is, it's like a three-sided file, but the actual sides are kind of like cut off, so it's just smooth. So you can't scuff up the fretboard, which is genius. So that fret crowning file, that's the one. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So when I fret level guitars now, like I say, I go over it with the beam. Obviously mask the fretboard off. Go over it with, well, unless I'm not bothered about the fretboard. Go over it with a beam until like everything's kind of like level with the Sharpie trick, and then basically I will put a tiny bit. So for instance, if my fret kind of after I've leveled the fret, if it's kind of flat like that, I will bring in the sides a little bit, so they're about that. I will never do this. I just bring in them a little bit, so they're like this, so they still have a flat top. I like that more. It feels better to me. I have crowned my frets off before to a point. And it just didn't feel right. I had to go back and I had to level it off. It drove me insane. It just felt weird. I really didn't like it. But yeah, so that's what I do. And then basically the Crimson Guitars fret rubbers are the last thing I use. And you have a coarse, a medium, like a coarse, medium, fine, and a super fine. And by the time you finish with all these 3 steps, your frets are just like perfect. It's just ridiculous. It's so cool. So those 3 things are what I use. Like I said, I just go over it with a leveling beam, then kind of put a little bit of a crown on the frets, like not ridiculous because I don't like it, and then just basically finish it with the fret finishing rubbers, and then jobs are good. As long as you make sure your neck's straight when you fret level, it's Initially, I remember being terrified of fret leveling. But it's one of those things now that I'll happily do to any of my guitars. I won't do it to other people's guitars yet. I'm not quite there with my confidence level on that. Plus, can't do that in this day and age anyway. But yeah, I'm more than happy to do it with any of my guitars. I've done it to my white Strat here. I've done it to I need to do it to my first ever Oswald. I've done it to my John Frusciante Oswald. I haven't had to do it to the red one or the new one yet, but I've done it to quite a few guitars, and it just I've always every time I do it I get more and more confidence, and like I say that kind of like just kind of like starts to fade away. It'll never go completely because I'm always afraid of messing it up, but I think that's normal, and I think that's okay to feel that way. But yeah, so that's what I do. That's what I use, and that's how I do fret level. I might do a video on it one day, maybe. I don't know. But it's kind of like there's so many videos out there of people who can do fret leveling better than I can. So maybe not. Because you don't want to see. Yeah, there's so many better people out there who can do fret level than I can, or fret work than I can. Like I say. I mean, when I've done it, it works. And that's all I care about. As long as I can play the guitar on every fret. After I've done it, and the frets are smooth and they don't scrape when I'm kind of bending or anything like that, I'm a happy bunny. I don't need it to be like the most amazing job in the world, just as long as it works. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm sure I'll get better at it the more I do it. So job's a good one. But I do recommend doing it. Fret leveling and recrowning and polishing is kind of one of those things that I would really recommend to every guitarist in the world to learn to do. Because A, it'll save you money, B, it's a really, really important skill, and C, it's really gratifying when you've done it yourself, which is the most important thing. It's really, really cool. When you fret leveled your guitar yourself and you play it and it just works, you're like, you feel so accomplished. It's so cool. I'm a luthier, damn it. Anyway, but yeah, so it's one of those skills that I would really recommend to any guitarist. I mean, I really want to learn how to refret guitars as well. That's my next foray into kind of this thing. I want to learn how to refret. Again, just to be able to do it myself would save so much hassle and cost and just general worry that, like, when my guitar's frets wear out, I can just do it myself. You know what I mean? So at some point I'm going to learn how to refret a guitar, and I think I'll film that. I think I'll film my first refret just because I think it'll be a giggle. I don't know what guitar I'll do it on. I don't know when it will be, but at some point I'm going to get the necessary tools. I can't afford it right now. The necessary tools bought so I can actually refret my guitars. So I will get to that at some point, and we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it though. It's really exciting. I'm not going to do it on like any of these guitars. I will do it on a guitar that if it goes wrong and I ruin it, then I'm not going to lose sleep over it and cry. So yeah, we'll see how we go. But anyway, so I hope that's answered your question. Like I say, that's how I level and crown frets. Like I said, I don't like to kind of have like a big hump on the fret. I like to have it kind of quite flat. It just feels better to me. I like that more. I don't know if it's to do with the fact that I have vintage radiuses on my guitar. I don't know what it is. It just feels weird when the frets like that. It feels frets like that. Sorry, it feels weird. But when the frets like this with a little bit of a flat top, it feels great. I like it when frets are a bit more worn down. It just feels really cool to me. And and also people will say. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that when your frets are flat, you have a lot of intonation issues. And it's like, well, I've never experienced that personally. I've got guitars with super flat frets, and I've played guitars with super flat frets, and I've never experienced massive intonation issues. I mean, intonation is a crapshoot anyway. It's never going to be perfect. You know what I mean? Guitars, as we know, are never fully in tune with themselves. They can't be. It's just the way it is. You can get the intonation as close as you can, but it's never going to be 100%. And also your guitar might be intonated to itself, but the guy you're playing in a band with or jam session with, their guitar might be intonated totally different. You never know. It's it's just one of those things. And again, I'm not after perfection with intonation or that kind of thing. As long as I can play the thing and express and do what I'm told by music, then that's all that matters to me. Okay, so I'm going to move on to final question there, everybody. Question 4. Okay, so question 4 today is, what's your advice on how to make a living out of playing the guitar? Now, this is a question I have answered before, and I nearly didn't answer because I've answered this a few times before, but I went back and had a look, and the times I've answered this before was BC, before Corona. So things have changed drastically to be able to make a living out of music, because there's no live gigging, so there's no way to go out and promote an album apart from thingy. You can only live stream stuff, and even then you have to have the right gear. It takes a lot of people to man a live stream gig. You know, I mean, if you don't know anybody who can do it, then you know you're kind of in trouble. Really, it's not, you can't just kind of like set up a camera in a corner and film your band. It's going to sound terrible. So things have changed massively, and it's really, I mean, it's kind of difficult to say. Excuse me. Here's the hiccups again. Because the music industry at this point in time is basically a mess. And it has been a mess for a while, but it's even more of a mess now in the fact of there's no live music, and also companies like Spotify and people like that are just messing artists, messing people around. You know, there's nothing good. You know, the music industry has always been a bit of a nasty, nasty place, but it's even nastier now, I would say, more than ever. And I've spoke to a lot of people who were about back in the day, you know, and they say, yeah, it's more difficult now than it was back then. You know, my friend Ian being one of them. And because people aren't willing to, like, record companies these days are not willing to kind of like spend the money on an artist to have them develop. You know, these days what they do is they wait for an artist online to reach 1 million subscribers on YouTube or so many hits on Spotify. Then they'll sign them after all the hard work's been done, promote them after they've already got a fan base, and then basically kind of like own them as their own. And it's, you know, it's a cheap way to do it for them, because they don't have to spend any money, because all that work in promotion and recording and has already been done by the artist. And the really funny thing is, once the artist has kind of served their purpose, they just drop them. Hey. Don't sign major contracts, people with you. Bad idea. So it's like a death sentence in this day and age. But how to make a living out of playing guitar in this day and age? I mean, ideally, every guitarist, every musician has to be here on YouTube. You have to have a channel. You have to be digitally visible, if that's the word. You know, you can't rely on gigging anymore. Gigging might never come back. You know what I mean? Live music might never come back. It's a very real possibility. I don't believe it, but it's a very real possibility. And at the level I'm at, and the level quite a lot of us are at, it might never come back. You know, the pub circuit and the club circuit, it might never return, because the virus might still be around forever. B, the venues that we used to play might have closed down in lockdown. You know what I mean? They might not be able to keep going because they can't afford it. So there's a lot of variables here. So my advice is get yourself on YouTube, and also get yourself some half decent recording equipment and start writing, recording and releasing your own music on a website like Bandcamp, so you can make extra revenue. You know what I mean? Because musicians used to be able to kind of like, you know, you'd be able to kind of support yourself by going out and gigging and also doing certain other things. But in this day and age, you can't do that because there is no gigging. You know, there's not even busking. You know, you can't do anything, basically, other than kind of have an online presence. So you got to build your online presence in this day and age. That's what you've got to do. If you want to make a living out of music, you get online. That's what you do. And you do whatever you have, you know, you do whatever you can do and have to do to get yourself out there on there. You work, and you work hard. You know, you work like a demon. If this is what you want to do, you work hard for it and you earn it. You can't just kind of like put a couple of covers. Well, unfortunately, some people can. You can't just put a couple, in my opinion, you can't just put a couple of covers on YouTube and expect yourself to kind of have a long-lasting career. You know, you really need to work at every aspect of this thing. You know, it's not just a case of being able to play. You always have to be able, you know, I think you have to be able to teach. You have to be able to listen and learn, and you have to be able to show things, and you have to be able to kind of develop you. You have to be you. You know what I mean? You know, it's difficult, man. It's probably harder now than it ever has been before, and to get anywhere with it now is almost impossible. almost impossible. And I mean almost. It's not impossible, but it's almost. It's not by any stretch of imagination easy. And it's going to require more work now than ever. You know, and you really got to work at it like an absolute demon. Because you just can't just... Like I say, you can't just go out touring and reach people that way anymore. You can't just kind of go out and do a couple of gigs. You can't just go out and promote your album. You can't just do this, that, and the other. It's a case of you're online now. This is where we belong now. This is where we have to be now as musicians to be able to make a living, you know. And you just got to work hard, man. I know you swore. You just got to work really hard. You know, you want it, then you work for it, and you have to sacrifice a lot for it. Bear that in mind. This isn't something you can just do on weekends. If you want to make a living out of this is full 7 days a week, all day, every day. Yeah, you can't just be like, I'll do it on the weekend. You know, if you want to make a living out of music and you do it all the time, that's the way it is. You know, you can't just be kind of like, you know, I'll do it every now and again. You know, if you want to make a living out of it, you need to get rid of, you know, you need to drop that kind of like, this isn't a hobby thing. This is my job, which is, you know, you got to get that mindset. You know, you can't just be kind of like, you know, oh well, this is just kind of something I do on the off time. If that's the case, that's cool. But if you want to make a living out of it, that's not going to work in this day and age, and it never really would anyway. You know, because you need to be totally dedicated to it. You need to push it in every way. You know, that's the way it needs to be. And like I say, I mean, advice on playing guitar. Make a living out of it. You've just got to get online. You've got to go on YouTube. You've got to get your music out there on stuff like Bandcamp. You've got to promote. You know, you've got to promote yourself. You've got to be. You know, you've got to feel your own self-worth as well. You can't just be kind of like selling yourself short anytime. You know, you have to know you're worth something. You know, it's the Joker line from Batman. You know, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. You know, because no other profession in life does it for free. You know, you don't get plumbers doing it for free. You don't get decorators, gardeners, you know, whatever. You don't get anything. You don't get people working for free. This being a musician is a job. You know, being a guitarist is a job. So if you do it and you do it to a really good level, then you should. Why should you not be able to do it for your life? You know, like for your living. You know, for your livelihood, so to say. So. But the advice I'd give you is like, you say you've got to get online and you've got to really promote this, and you've really got to be, you know, you've really got to work for it. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years. But you know, if you keep at it long enough, I believe that, you know, things will happen. You know, you just got to work, and you've got to be dedicated, and you've got to sacrifice along the way, and you've got to make sure that nothing else kind of gets in the way. So to say, really, you know. And if you can do that, then invariably, kind of like, you know, you can kind of, you know, you kind of like, you can start to get somewhere. You know, not to say you have to sacrifice everything, but you do have to sacrifice quite a lot to be a musician. You know, because it's quite a misunderstood profession. I personally believe. I think, you know, musician is very misunderstood because there's a love that musicians have that is very overlooked. It's like, you know, if somebody loves decorating. People are like, oh, I understand that. But then when you say, oh, I love music, people are like, why? You know, but why? You know, I've had that so many times in life where people are like, why do you want to do that? You know, why do you love it so much? It's like, if you have to ask, you'll never know. To quote the Chili Peppers. But yeah, so advice on making a living. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's just hard work. That's all it comes down to, is just work, and then work some more, and then work again, and then works a bit more on that. You know what I mean? And then maybe if you work a little bit more than that, you might have to work a bit more. And then if you work a little bit more than that, then you might have to work a bit more, and then you might get somewhere. You know, that's the way it works. You've just got to... That was way too many uses of the word work. Anyway, but you just got to push, and you've got to go for it. And you've got to be kind of fearless of it in a way as well. You can't just be kind of like... You can't be kind of like scared of this, that, and the other. You just got to go for it with, like, you know, go at it full pelt. You know, you can't just be kind of like jogging up to it or something. You got to run it full pelt and make sure you kind of like make an impact into the wall. You know, you might not break through the wall straight away, but you need to be able to dislodge some of the bricks. So, like I say, without gigging being a possibility in this day and age, then The only way we can do it is online. You know, live streaming, YouTube channels, teaching, stuff like that. Things like Patreon are a godsend for musicians in this day and age, and artists in general, and people in general. To be honest with you, things like Patreon are an absolute godsend because it gives you that extra little bit, you know, to keep you going, especially during this ridiculously tough, horrible time we're living in. It's just insane. It's just insane. I every day I wake up and I can't believe this is a reality. You know what I mean? Because humans aren't designed to live this way. And I have a horrible fear that the damage done by Mr. Corona here is going to be everlasting. Or if not everlasting, very long lasting. And that really upsets me, and it also scares me because of what my job is. You know, as an entertainer, as a musician, as somebody who loves to go out and perform and play music live, it kind of worries me of where that's going to end up, you know, because I can't think it's going to end up in a very, very good place. Because it's kind of like, very, you know, I don't know. I just don't like it. But like I said, I mean, that's the only thing I can really do is, you know, get a YouTube channel, play on it, demo gear, demo your gear, teach, talk about, you know, let people get to know you as a person. You know, don't wear a mask. Be you. You know, like I said, I mean, I've always said that. It's like, you know, from day one with this channel, I wanted to just be me. I didn't see the point in kind of trying to be anything other than what I am. Because I always thought, well, it's kind of it's the Kurt Cobain line, you know, trying to be somebody else is a waste of who you are. And I totally agree with that line. And it's like, why would I want to try and be something I'm not? You know, if I'm a really moody, morose human being outside of YouTube, but yet on YouTube I'm more happy and look at me, I'm so happy, you know, and then the channel gets somewhere and I have fans, and then these fans want to meet me and they meet me and I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? That's going to be a horrible thing for them to meet. You know what I mean? That's just going to ruin what the person they think they know, because it's not you. Whereas I like to think that if you are yourself, if people like you for who you are, then when they meet you, you are that. You don't have to put on a mask. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to act. You know what I mean? You don't have to be, you know, because I do get the impression sometimes with a couple of, you know, again, it's the way it is right now with the social media, kind of, you know, give me likes and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of fakery. There's a lot of kind of like, you know, look at me, I'm this. When they're not actually that. It's like, you know, and it really breaks my heart to make me go, well, why are you not proud of actually who you are? You know, if you have to put on a face and you have to put on a mask, then what's that saying about who and what you really are? That you don't want to be that, which is really heartbreaking, I think, personally. I was like, I don't like the idea of that, but you know, I like the idea more of just like, yeah, be yourself, be who you are, and you know, and just work hard, man. Just work hard. You've got to work though. You can't just expect to just do little bits here and there and expect for it to pay off. It's not gonna happen. You know, you've got to push it. You've got to push it every day, all day. You know what I mean? You just got to go for it. No fear of it, really. But yeah, you know. So that's what I'd recommend. Get online, get onto YouTube, get a channel set up, start recording and writing your own music, releasing your own music, and just doing the best you can. Because that's all we can do right now. We can't do anything other than what we can do, which is not a great deal, to be honest with you. But it's something, and it's better than nothing, you know. So get on and do it. You know, that's basically kind of like what the way to go, really, because there's no other way of doing it at this point in time. Sadly, there's literally no other way. So online is the way to go. It really is. There's no other avenue. There's no live. You know, you've got to get online. You've got to be able to teach, play, perform, do it all online through that online medium of YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You know, you've got to do it. You know, that's where we've got to be as artists and guitarists, right now. But yeah, making a living out of it, tough, very tough, very tough. I mean, it always was, but now it's even more impossible. You know, with the way things are, you know, near impossible, should I say? Not impossible, but near impossible. So, and who knows? It could be impossible in a year. Who knows? Who knows? Breaks my heart, to be honest with you, people. I bet you can't tell, but you know, it is what it is. I can't really say much because none of us know the future. None of us know what's going to go on. None of us know if this is ever going to pass. You know, and if and when it does pass, if things aren't going to go back to that, you know, I mean, there's the fear of God has been put into people now, and it's like, you know, not a lot of these people who have been locked away in their houses for about a year aren't going to want to immediately rush out to a packed gig venue inside and stand next to a stranger in a sweaty mosh pit for an hour or 2 hours or 3. You know, I mean, people are going to be living in fear of, oh my God, what if they've got it? You know, or what if you've got it? Or what, you know, what if that person over there coughing has got it? Or what happens if somebody breathes on me or spits on me or this and that? And it's like, there's so much damage done. I understand it, but my God, it's dangerous. Because humans aren't designed to live this way. You know, we're social creatures by design. Even if we don't think we are, we are. You know. So it's difficult. Very difficult. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking there because I'm going to run out of time. So anyway, people of YouTube, I hope it's answered your question. Like I say, it's all about work. You got to work. That's all it is. But anyway, I hope that question's okay, people of YouTube. Yeah, and I say if you want to submit a question for Q&A Wednesday, description box below has an email link. Email me there. And yeah, I will see you again, people of YouTube, on Friday for another vid. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And until then, goodbye now. Thanks so much for watching.